Welcome in to Check the Mic. Steve Palazzolo and Sam Monson. We're live on YouTube, and Sam, it's time for the first annual Check the Mic award show.
First annual, yeah. The inaugural award show.
Inaugural.
It's award season, which means we're kind of dressed up.
We're dressed up. You have a tux that you own.
Yeah, well, certainly from the waist up, I'm in a tuxedo. The waist down, I'm in sweatpants. But, you know, can't see it on the TV, so it doesn't matter.
You know, the magic of TV, you don't even have to admit that.
Well, no, I wanted to specify that there was something on beneath the table, you know, because when you leave it dangling out there, it's just, you know, it's better to clarify. There are sweatpants below the table as opposed to nothing at all, but only the top half is formal.
Perfect. That's good to know. So I'm as formal.
What are you dressed in?
I have my powder blue tuxedo T-shirt.
Yeah.
And my UMass Lowell Hall of Fame jacket.
Ah.
I thought this was a good combo, which was
okay.
Doesn't.
No, Janko was making that point that it does sort of highlight the hand area, which you're somehow immediately self-conscious about now.
These weren't custom made.
Yeah.
They just kind of gave us some options for
so
sizes.
What we've done is there's no undershirt sleeve at all because it's a T-shirt.
Yeah.
And then the jacket sleeve itself, a long jacket is too short for you, so the sleeves are short, which just sort of, you know, increases the space around the hand.
This looks gonna catch on.
And then you've really tried to add something to it with the watch. I mean, I
think it's a good look. It's gonna catch on.
It's great.
The other undershirt that I considered was my Josh Allen jersey.
Yeah.
And you know,
I feel like you made the right choice. I think the tuxedo T-shirt with the classy Hall of Fame.
Down. It's a little worn down. This is Dumb and Dumber powder blue tuxedo T-shirt. We used to have Tuxedo Shirt Tuesday.
Yeah.
One of the teams I played for. So for 2 straight years, every Tuesday I wore this shirt because that's what we wore to the stadium. And so it's a little worn down. Haven't busted it out for a while though.
I certainly don't think that detracts from the look.
Okay, Thank you. But we're here. We're gonna give out some awards, the traditional ones and some non-traditional awards. It's gonna be a fun show. Let's start with some breaking news though. We're gonna talk about some serious news here. And look, this is all happening because of your sister. So shout out to Chloe. She made you buy a tux.
Yeah, for a wedding. I had to buy a damn tuxedo because renting it would be prohibitively expensive.
Let us know what else we need to do to.
So frankly,
are you going to wear that to NFL honors?
Well, this is the thing. You give me the slightest excuse to put on the tuxedo, and I'm going to try and get my money's worth out of this.
Are you calculating like how many per times you wear it?
No, I just know how much I'm into it already. And I'm like, any chance I have to put it on is an extra wearing that it's not going to get otherwise.
Looking for more excuses to rock a tux.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to some of the news. Ben Johnson has been announced as the head coach of the Chicago Bears, the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator, who's been coveted over the last 2 coaching cycles in particular, done a fantastic job in Detroit. Ben Johnson stays in the division, goes to the Chicago Bears. Your thoughts?
I mean, it's a great get for the Bears, right? Kind of a coup. Ben Johnson had been fairly picky over the last few years, turning down head coaching jobs, withdrawing himself from consideration for a couple of years now, trying to find the right gig, and somehow Chicago has convinced him that they're the gig. Apparently, it was down to Chicago and Las Vegas, the Raiders, presumably due to the influence of Tom Brady more than almost anything else.
Or as someone else suggested, perhaps money.
No, because that, I think, is what the tiebreaker was. Because otherwise, like, it's Brady, it's clean slate, it's, hey, this is like, if Tom Brady has convinced you that the Raiders are a viable gig in the first place, they're a better viable gig than the Bears, right? Other than the fact that they don't have a quarterback. But, like, if you buy that the Raiders are a viable option at all, right, you're like, well, okay, then there's a clean slate. I trust the ownership. I trust the model. I'm in, right? So the only way the Bears get you back from there is, how about some extra money?
I mean, maybe.
So if it was a money concern, I think that's why he's in Chicago.
The QB could be the tiebreaker there.
But that hasn't. I mean, he's turned down previous gigs where there's a QB.
We'll talk about
unless he completely loves Caleb Williams.
We'll talk about it in a minute because more people are turning down the Jacks, as Ben Johnson did.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about, well, they've got the quarterback. That has to be appealing, and I'm sure it is. But ultimately, it's the work environment. It's the structure.
But it's
and
also,
I think that's probably where and by the way, I don't know if all the reports on Brady, are they all true? Like he's the guy leading this head coaching search, or are people just assuming this?
Balky?
Brady in the Raiders, right?
No, I mean, I think it was very widely reported that he specifically convinced Ben Johnson.
So there's got to be something about the structure and stability that's attracting people, because the Raiders' job as far as talent and quarterback situation isn't very
that's
attractive.
what I'm saying. So if the Raiders were a finalist, it's because Brady has successfully convinced him that like the environment is good and the structure and all those things. Otherwise, it's a terrible job because they have no talent, no quarterback, no necessarily good prospect of getting one given where they are, et cetera. So you wouldn't touch that job with a 10-foot barge pole if it wasn't for Brady convincing you, no, it's cool. Trust me, I'm involved now. The organization is better. Like, it's a good place to be. So if they're a finalist, it means you've bought into that stuff, which means either he absolutely loves Caleb Williams, which is possible, or the Bears have offered more money because from an organizational structure, the Bears have more red flags, I think, at this point than that vision of the Raiders. The other point, though, I think is worth making is we tend to treat this discussion as a binary, do you have the quarterback, quote unquote, yes or no, right? But it's also like, what does he think? Like right now, Caleb Williams a year ago was the number 1 overall pick and a guy everyone thought was special, right? A year removed from that, we're like, well, Jaden Daniels is probably better. But that doesn't mean that, like, if Ben Johnson saw Caleb Williams twice this year, maybe Ben Johnson loves Caleb Williams and thinks the special thing is still on the table. You know, I can fix everything that happened last year, and if we get his high end, we have a guy that absolutely rivals Jaden Daniels, or maybe even is still better potential-wise. Like, he might love – so you look at that and you say, well, Trevor Lawrence versus Caleb Williams, right? Theoretically, either one has the quarterback. Ben Johnson might think one of those guys is limited with a ceiling. I can't get much more out of him than has already been gotten. He might look at the other guy and go, that guy's ceiling is through the roof. I loved him a year ago. Like, I can make him into the next Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, all that kind of stuff. If he thinks that, then it's a way more attractive job than Jacksonville.
I am interested to see what that looks like, right? And a lot of times we just look at what the offensive coordinator just did and assume he's going to go do it in the new place. That's also going to be a big-time challenge, right? Because the offensive coordinator's job, to me, there's one of two ways to approach this thing. I was talking to our friend Matt Collar on his show yesterday, kind of answered it the same way. One, you have a Kyle Shanahan who doesn't really adjust his scheme a ton, but for the most part says, I need a quarterback who's going to fit what I do. And I don't think Trey Lance was ever going to fit what he did, but Brock Purdy does, right? And Kyle Shanahan has a history of getting the most out of Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy, et cetera. Matt Schaub back in the day, what have you. Does he adjust his scheme a little bit? Yes, but there's a little bit of like, I need these traits to make this thing work with Shanahan. Other offensive coordinators can do anything, right? And Andy Reid historically has made it work with Donovan McNabb and Alex Smith and Brett Favre and Patrick Mahomes, right? All different style quarterbacks, all different strengths and weaknesses, all different looking. Michael Vick, too. All different types of offenses, right? But the core is Andy Reid. Which one is Ben Johnson? Because to me, it looks like he's pretty flexible. He runs every type of run concept, right? They're not just outside zone, power, gap scheme. They run it all. They're obviously creative. He's obviously creative with the trickeration. They attack every blade of grass, so to speak, as they say, for offenses. But they've also had this incredible team that they've built, right? They've had one of the best offensive lines in the league. They've had explosive playmakers at every position. How does Ben Johnson adjust to Caleb Williams? Because every week, right, when you're watching Caleb Williams play, it felt like, all right, this week he just really wants to win from the pocket, and he's sitting there and he's not reading it out well. Other times it was like, hey, go play free. Minnesota game. That was in Chicago, 5 big-time throws where it's just like college Caleb Williams playing free. How does Ben Johnson get that balance out of Caleb Williams?
Yeah, and then I think the other thing is how much work can they do in one offseason to rebuild an offensive line? Because that was the issue. Not the issue. That was an issue last season. It was something they weren't able to at least turn into an advantage with the way Caleb Williams plays. Maybe Ben Johnson can mitigate it to some degree, but I think, look, as well as he's done in Detroit, you have to at least acknowledge this is working. It's like the Saquon Barkley in Philadelphia thing, right? Yeah, Saquon looks amazing behind that offensive line in that system, but we've already seen what happens if you take him out of that one and put him on a crappy team. It looks like the Giants Saquon Barkley, right? Now we're doing that with Ben Johnson. He's able to make this offense look phenomenal when he has a to degree proven commodity in Jared Goff, one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, Thunder and Lightning in the backfield, Sonic and Knuckles, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, blah, blah, endless, right? What happens if we take that and we put him in an offense that we know at least has a problem on the offensive line, might have a problem at quarterback, given that he's not as proven in terms of NFL quality as Jared Goff yet, and the receivers are still a little bit up in the air. Does it work the same, right? So very minimum, let's start trying to rebuild that line pretty quickly.
All right, so Ben Johnson to the Bears. We'll have more this offseason as we talk Bears and building that team back up. Also in the NFC North, Kevin O'Connell, Minnesota Vikings, extended as the head coach of the Vikings. There was that report right before their Week 18 game against the Lions that some teams were having discussions. It was from Jake Glazer. Having discussions, could we trade for Kevin O'Connell? Vikings say no. He gets extended, and by all reports, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, the general manager, will be next. Both guys came in, I think, on those 4-year deals, and they'll be extended together, coming off of a very good season, 14-win season in Minnesota.
Yeah, the idea of trading him always seemed insane to me. Makes sense.
Jake Glazer, by the way, clarified that report, right? It wasn't like Minnesota was shopping him.
No, teams were calling, which sounds like it's happening for other coaches as well. I don't know why that's suddenly a thing this offseason. Maybe it's always been, and it's just being reported this time. But
honestly, I think all of this stuff has always happened.
Yeah, maybe.
And my answer to anything that leaks out like that is like, if you have to do your due diligence on every single scenario, right? So here are the potential coaching candidates. Here's the 3 or 4 around the league: Kyle Shanahan, Kevin O'Connell, that we could wonder if we could trade for him, right? You just have to have those discussions, and teams were having those discussions about Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah, look, the year ended badly for Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings. They were embarrassed in Week 18 against the Lions. They were embarrassed in the playoffs against the Rams for the second time that season. It certainly wasn't the end to his season that he would have wanted, but up until that point, he had been arguably coach of the year. So extending him makes perfect sense. All the stuff we've talked about before, like the emotional intelligence, what he's able to do with the quarterbacks, it's all good. So, yeah, it makes total sense.
He could still be coach of the year.
Sure.
For Check the Mic.
Okay.
Coming up
he could still be coach of the year for...
Could be for the NFL.
For the NFL, we don't know.
As well. We'll find out at least the CTM Awards later here today.
CTM Awards.
So Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell likely there for long haul. A longish haul in Minnesota. Other news coming out here. New England Patriots have their coordinators, the most... well-known, Josh McDaniels, back for a third stint as offensive coordinator for the Patriots. He'll be the OC for Mike Vrabel.
Yep. We just go back to the dynasty, and we find whoever's not employed, and we give them a position.
So they have Josh McDaniels coming back in, and then Terrell Williams has been hired defensive line coach for the Detroit Lions. He'll come in as defensive coordinator. He reunites with Vrabel. I don't hate the McDaniels move. He's failed twice as a head coach, and he's been a good offensive coordinator. Last time we saw him, he got the best season out of Mac Jones, at least, right? Remember what happened? They had 2 years. He had 1 year after Brady left, 1 year with Cam Newton, 1 year with Mac Jones as a rookie, which went pretty well, considering. And then that was when the real disaster started in New England. They hired Matt Patricia as offensive coordinator, first time on the offensive side of the ball, and then, just wasn't great since that point. So McDaniels was fine as an offensive coordinator, so he'll be the guy to get the most out of Drake May now.
Yes. It's an interesting hire because, McDaniels has done well in a couple of stints in New England. But the whole New England sort of success, it's got a very different sheen on it now since we've seen post-Tom Brady world and post-Tom Brady world with him somewhere else, right? So in the same way, Belichick's resume takes on a very different light absent Tom Brady. McDaniels does as well. It basically gets boiled down now to one pretty good season by Mac Jones. It's like, that's a pretty thin resume when you start sketching it out that way. Like, it's 2 head coaching stints. Every single player that played under him in 2 separate places says the exact same thing, which is the guy's an X's and O's savant, and we hate him. Hate him, right? So that's great. But in New England, is that the guy you want to pair with a young quarterback who's trying to find his way? Maybe it's good, right? But you now are sort of banking on this guy needs to behave the same way to that Tom Brady did.
He's always been a better McDaniels coordinator than head coach at the same time.
But also,
he was the offensive coordinator way back in the day for the Rams. He was supposed to be the guy. Now, really quick, he was supposed to be the guy to get Sam Bradford on track. 2011, I believe it was. And they had one of the worst offenses in the league. Then he goes back to New England, and they go on their run. They win 3 Super Bowls. He did get a good year out of Mac Jones, but we are talking about it's not like they have elite offenses without Brady here.
No, so it's an interesting call. Like, yeah, on the one hand, you can construct an argument that his resume as an offensive coordinator is exceptionally good, and therefore he's a good person to have back in the building. You can also start saying, well, okay, but if we remove the Tom Brady factor, what does it look like now? And now you have an awful lot of potential negatives in there in terms of abrasive personality, this time without the potential backguard of Tom Brady's personality dealing with it, and Bill Belichick sitting above him, right? Yeah. Another strong personality. Now you've got, okay, Vrabel is well able to handle that as well, but suddenly the guardrails for that are a little less concrete than they were.
The one thing I will say is your take on this is like trying to get all the dynasty people back in New England. I don't think it's that. I mean, I really think it's just he's a good offensive coordinator candidate who's had success, and relative to others, at least there's some familiarity there. It's not like Vrabel's getting, the band back together here. It's not like Vince Wilfork's going to be our defensive line coach. Vrabel didn't do that in Tennessee. Like. Again, he's not even on the Belichick coaching tree, so it's not like they have those connections.
You keep saying that like it's I don't really see a difference between a guy who was a long-time player under a coach who then became a coach and a guy who was coaching under the coach and then went on to become a different coach. It's the same thing. It's still he worked under the head coach for a long period of time, and now he's a coach himself. That's a tree. I don't care. You call it a branch, call it a root, whatever it is. He's part of that tree.
Anyway, New England has their coordinators. The other story that's out there is a couple different stories actually, but Aaron Glenn, by most reports, very close to becoming the Jets head coach. I'm trying to
break the news.
Trying to talk to.
Why don't we just break it now? And then if we're wrong, we can, they can put up a disclaimer sometime later. If we're right, we were out first. That's how isn't that how the insiders do it?
I think to a point, yeah.
Yeah, just break it right now.
And then the other insiders get, it's not done. It's not done. And then 2 hours later, it's done.
Yeah. My sources say it's not done. It's not done yet.
Can we do that? Let's break it.
Just break it. Who's going to stop you? You think Tyler's going to shut the button off in the control room over there?
I'm worried about Mike T over here. What if he's promised it to Shefty?
But
you'll get it.
We've already done the disclaimer now saying this. Okay, here we go. Right, do it. This may or may, what you're about to hear may or may not be true.
Ready?
Go.
We have breaking news. The New York Jets have hired Aaron Glenn as their new head coach. There it is. It's official. Reporting Aaron Glenn to former Jet.
Breaking news on the show.
He's back home. This is what we do here. This is what we do. Tell your friends. Come see the breaking news. We're reporting Aaron Glenn as the new head coach of the New York Jets. Taking some chances here.
This is why Elon is out here saying legacy media is dead. You don't see Schefter or Rap Sheet with this first, right? It's us.
We knew.
Check the mic.
We know.
Check the mic, breaking the news.
I have this on solid authority. Solid authority, I would say. And look, you can trust us. Look at us. Is anyone better dressed right now reporting this news? You think Shefty's in a tux breaking this down? Aaron Glenn to the Jets. Your thoughts now that it's official?
Yeah. Well, this is Aaron Glenn sounded very keen on this job. Like personally, he's obviously a former Jets player. It sounds like he really wants to go back and fix things in the building. Somebody needs to. Look, Aaron Glenn is another one. It's always tough, right? Analyzing what a head coach is going to do because none of us have any idea, including the people that hire them. You're just guessing based off the interview and a few other bits and pieces, right? Aaron Glenn, I think, did a good job as a coordinator. Schematically, I think he did a lot of good for that Lions defense. I think he was approaching even the injuries and the depth problems the right way in terms of staying aggressive, trying to play that variance game. And everyone raves about his sort of emotional intelligence and ability to connect to players and all those kinds of things, like they do with Kevin O'Connell. Will that translate to being a head coach? Who the hell knows? But the guy wants to be there. That's a pretty big step in the right direction. And so far, I think everything on his resume is a positive thing. I think that's as good a hire as the Jets could manage this offseason.
The other rumors that we will not officially report would be Lance Newmark coming over as the new general manager. It's not officially official yet.
Okay.
But formerly in the Lions organization, now with the Commanders, pairing those guys together. Look, it was an extensive search for the Jets, very extensive.
A lot of people.
A lot of people interviewed on both ends, right, from a general manager and from a coaching standpoint.
No stone left unturned.
And I think at the end of the day, they were trying to pair people up that could work together.
Right.
And I think that part is at least smart, right? Is trying to pair people up who can and want to work together and will be able to work together, because that is massive. And when we see failures around the league, as I've said before, sometimes it's the GM and the coach who come in at different times, and one's on the hot seat and one's not, and they're just not working together. So now you have a situation in Minnesota, right, where Kevin O'Connell, Kwesi come in at the same time, get extended at the same time, right, and they're in lockstep in how they're working together. And I think the Jets are trying to replicate something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy not to do that. You need both these people on the same page. If that's not going to happen from the outset, there's very small chance that's going to go well.
So please credit if
yes.
I mean, if Shefty and Rapsheed and Breer is always over there, that guy, always trying to steal stories, always trying to, I can't wait to see him next week. He's going to start butting into my conversations again like he did last year, thinking he's more important than us. If these other insider guys, if they come out, breaking news, you say, check the mic had it first. You tell them, we had it here first. Aaron Glenn to the Jets.
You should just scare him away with your giant hands.
I'm going to
He
next.
threatens. You just...
Like, we've worked together, Bert. And he just walks past me because, like, the person I'm talking to is more important than me, so he just goes and talks to that guy instead of me. Like, hi, Bert. Good to see you again, man. Used to work together. SI.
Right.
You know? New England.
He doesn't care anymore.
Comcast Sportsnet. What's up, man? How you doing? He's on cloud nine. Ohio State won. You know?
Yeah.
Whole thing. All right. What else do then Liam Coen, Bucs offensive coordinator. Breaking news. He will not be the Jacksonville Jaguars head coach next year. Don't know. Don't tell me how I know. Well, I read it.
Right.
He's opted out of the Jaguars head coaching search, as Ben Johnson did. Now, Ben Johnson the report on Ben Johnson that he didn't like the structure.
The setup.
The setup.
The quote-unquote setup.
And here's what we know about the setup. The
Trent
new setup.
setup.
Trent Baalke is the general manager on his sixth coaching hire.
Yep.
And the new head coach is going to report directly to owner Shad Khan. The setup is the opposite of what we just described, that the Jets are going for, that the Raiders are going for. Coach, GM coming in, same time, similar goals. Instead, it's Trent Baalke trying to hire his third head coach with the Jaguars.
Yeah. Having already had Shad Khan say on a Zoom call that if necessary, he would be prepared to fire Trent Baalke to make this happen. On a call that Trent Baalke was on. That's a little bit
People
awkward.
are saying Diana Rossini might get this Jet scoop. I doubt it.
Can't. It's already
Because
been.
it's done.
We've scooped it.
Scoop.
It has been scooped. Scoop. There it is. We've already done it.
Let me tweet out that we have breaking news. Maybe we'll get some more people in here.
Just tweet out. We've already announced it. It's already been announced.
Well, then it's a little sketchier. Breaking. No, people have to come and listen to it.
Oh, I see.
Breaking news.
Yes. So this is now 2 head coaching candidates that have been unenamored with the setup in Jacksonville to the degree that they've withdrawn themselves from consideration. I believe that the setup in question is probably, the GM, Trent setup.
Yeah, I do wonder how much of it's the reporting to Shad.
Well, there's that, and there's how much even independent of whether you think he's good or you can work with him, et cetera, it's like, how long does he have? This is the last straw in the way that he's a lame duck GM, right? Nobody actually thinks he's going to be there long term. So it's more, I don't think it's as much like, I think this guy's garbage and I don't want to work with him. It's more like, does he exist beyond next year? And then who the hell knows who it's going to be next year? It's the unknown of that, I think, more than this guy individually I don't want to work with.
But also, when the owner says, I know what to do, we're going to fire the head coach, and we'll just have the new head coach report to me. The new reporting structure will solve everything. It just feels like a Band-Aid. And,
yes.
And so now what's the fallout there? Trevor Lawrence heading into year 5, right? And he's got Ben Johnson, the hottest offensive coordinator name over the last 2 years.
Right.
Liam Coen, one of the new hot names, who just got the best season out of Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay. 2 highly coveted offensive coaches are like, nah, no thanks.
Right.
And with Trevor Lawrence, and look, I've talked to a lot of coaches, NFL people, and everything. Even with Trevor Lawrence underachieving relative to generational expectations, I can't find many coaches or NFL people who are like, nah, I don't want to work with that guy. People want to work with Trevor Lawrence, and even that's not enough to attract a Ben Johnson or a Liam Coen or maybe another offensive-minded coach down there to work with Trevor and the Jags.
I mean, it's interesting. On that call, he basically was asked, what if the new head coaching candidate doesn't want to work with, and he was like, yeah, we would be prepared to make a change there if necessary.
Did he realize what he was saying?
I don't know, but the point is, if that was true, you might be realizing that actually you need to do that now. Like if that genuinely is something you are prepared to do to secure a head coaching candidate, it is possible that that's a necessary requirement this offseason, not, let's try this new reporting structure. Let's see how it works. Then next year I can make a change there. And then we're back to this offsetting head coach and GM things. Like you might be learning now that this is something that has to happen ASAP.
I think what I told you, though, might be what is just as concerning. The fact that Shad said that this is the most talented Jags team in history.
Yeah.
That there's something about Balky's convinced him.
Right.
We've got the talent. We have, that he's hearing his voice, right? And he's hearing it loud and clear. And I don't know, man. So he's out. Was there one more thing we had?
We're sitting here looking like idiots, and we're just talking about the news. We need to actually start giving awards out so that there's a purpose of this outfit.
What do you mean? This is great. Who else is? Nobody's breaking news in a tuxedo T-shirt.
That's true. I would imagine that's true.
So the breaking news, if you missed it earlier, thank you, at Steve Sheet. Thank you, guys. Let's get that going at Steve Sheet. Steve Stur. Aaron Glenn to the Jets. Wow, damn, Mike T's going to be so mad at me.
Probably.
Not that he even said anything. He's just going to be watching the show. He's watching the show.
Of course,
he's got a very busy
nothing
schedule.
better to do.
He's interviewing 9 million people.
Right.
But he's watching the show, and he's going to be like, dude.
Well, if you're right, he's no longer interviewing anybody.
That's a good point. Maybe he's done.
Right.
Run it back. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less and at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CheckTheMic. You get $50 instantly when you play $5. It's code CheckTheMic. $50 instantly when you play $5. We'll be having our lineups unveiled tomorrow as we preview conference championship games. PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. PrizePicks invented the flex play, so it means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. And PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. So if your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks keeps your lineup live. So download the app today. Use code CheckTheMic. You get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CheckTheMic. $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. All right, man, we got all sorts of awards to hand out here. Are you ready to go?
Yeah.
We're going to start with the disappointment of the year. Disappointment of the year. We have 3 nominees here. The Cincinnati Bengals not sneaking into the playoffs.
Yep.
Despite historic seasons by Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, etc. We've got the New York Jets, just the Jets generally.
Yep.
Who are going to hire Aaron Glenn, being just an overall disappointment. And the Cowboys going all into missing the playoffs.
Correct. Yeah. And a terrible season.
Letting their head coach walk. Those are our nominations for disappointment of the year.
Yep. Two of the same category and then one slightly different. I mean, I guess the Bengals generally are in a similar category as the Jets and the Cowboys, though less pronounced. But I think the big disappointment there was we didn't get to see what if this team that had caught fire towards the end of the season and finally started to look like themselves actually snuck into the playoffs with this ridiculous, improbable thing that needed to happen, the sequence, and then go to Buffalo or then, take on one of the big boys. And we never got to see it. Instead, Denver just go there, get waxed. And it's like, all right, fine.
And then the Jets looked like the most talented team that they'd had in a while.
Yeah.
All they needed was better quarterback play.
Expectations were high.
And I'll say they got better quarterback play than they've gotten previously. They got better quarterback play than Zach Wilson, better quarterback play than Sam Darnold a few years back.
There was that tweet that outlined the 15 different ways they got better on paper from last year to this year and somehow collectively got worse.
Yeah, everything was bad.
Yeah.
Traded for Devontae Adams, didn't matter.
Right.
Rodgers didn't matter. Fired Robert Saleh, didn't matter. So Jets were a disappointment, which is why, new GM, new head coach, everything's different with the Jets.
And Dallas. All in, it sucked. You lost. Snake eyes.
They were bad before Dak got injured.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
That's part of the issue, right?
Right.
They were getting waxed by
was all
Detroit
bad.
and everything, so it was all bad. So that's the 3 nominees for our disappointment of the year.
You didn't bring your official awards envelopes. Now the whole thing could be rigged. How are we going to know?
Did I bring? Hold on.
How are we going to know it's real if you're not
Go to the
opening
solo
up?
shot on Sam. While I find some. Do I have some cards here?
How are we going to know the whole thing isn't rigged if you're not opening up a cartoon envelope? You know?
I don't have an envelope, but I have my card here.
That you're going to have to scribble out. This is a disaster. It's like you're not even prepared at all for these awards. You know?
My one card.
We're sitting here in comedy tuxedos,
Got it.
and you're not even slightly prepared for anything we're doing. It's a train wreck.
33rd.
33rd teams here, right on. Got it right on the logo.
Actual card stock here. We don't even need
Perfect,
to see.
yeah.
I don't have to see this side. I got my card.
The winner is.
And the winner for disappointment of the year. Wow, a surprise.
Is it you?
It might be after this show. It's the New York Jets.
Well done. Well done.
Congratulations to the Jets.
Oh, do we have applause? Can we put that over the top somewhere?
Can we get an applause meter
Yeah.
here? Applause soundtrack. I dropped my stylus.
Oh, God.
Can I get this retroactively? Did you add Bull in the China Shop?
No, but you won that as well.
Man.
Congratulations to the Jets. Well deserved. Total train wreck. Massive disappointment. Disappointment of the year.
It's going to be completely different. Completely
Next
different.
year. Next
I'm
year
going
will
to
be
let
their
you
year.
read these. Do you have the sheet open? Because you
Yeah.
wrote the. So the next one's going to be the face palm of the year.
Face palm of the. Oh, you don't want to do it because of your giant palm. Is that
No,
what we're
no.
doing
I'm
here?
just saying, like, if I put like a claw hold on you.
Well, the face
you
palm
wrote-
of the year.
You wrote the script here for these things. So
That's yeah, okay. The face palm of the year. I mean, fairly self-explanatory, and in particular, I feel like this is the Naked Gun face palm of the year. You know that scene where I forget what actually happened. He gave the gun back to the robber, right? Something like that in the awards ceremony. Actually, now that I think about it, I wasn't even thinking about that symmetry. See, that's how in tune I am with this stuff, right? The symmetry there. Naked Gun, face palm of the year. Anyway, so nominations. You've got Tyreek Stevenson taunting the opposition fans while the Hail Mary is actually taking place behind him, and then being the guy that deflects the ball on the Hail Mary into the waiting arms of a Washington Commanders receiver, which sparked Washington's run and sparked Chicago's collapse. They were 5-2 at that point,
4-2,
4-2, and then they didn't win another game, right? Or won one more game
until
the very end.
18. Yeah.
Anyway, that's number one. Almost any Will Levis game features at least one face palm of the year nomination play. All the
Especially
memes,
early.
right? The Surrender Cobra, the launching it out horizontally, all these things. Will Levis could stock this entire award category by himself. And then, of course, you got Matt Eberflus standing there gormlessly on the sideline while his quarterback forgets that he actually has a timeout he could use if they throw over the middle, changing the play, burning 30 seconds, and basically losing any chance of winning the game because all the time went off the clock on Thanksgiving, right, against the Lions.
Thanksgiving disaster.
Yeah.
A Thanksgiving disaster. So the Bears have 2 out of the 3 nominees.
Two
here.
of the finalists. You could say that Will Levis on his own has like 4, but the Bears do have 2 of them.
So the
yes.
Bears have 2. Levis has 4. One of
Yeah.
the Levises came against the Bears, handed them one of their wins.
That's true. Yeah.
Which a lot of connections here for face palm of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go with our winner.
Yeah. Who was the winner?
Congratulations to Matt Eberflus
Excellent.
for the Thanksgiving
Outstanding.
clock management disaster. Congrats.
Oh, there we go. We got
There it
an
is.
applause.
The face palm of the year. Now, one that's near and dear to all of our hearts.
All of our hearts.
The big man moment of the year.
Okay.
Big man moment of the year.
Are you nominated for this one?
I would say
Is it your?
I didn't make it.
It's not your hand photo, no?
I did not make it.
Okay.
We have Colin Saunders, the defensive tackle for the Saints, end zone interception against Patrick Mahomes.
And then the run back.
And then the
The
run.
run
I mean,
back
it's-
is critical.
it's
I
the
mean,
run back.
that was the magic.
Penei Sewell, his trick play, which kind of went to nowhere, but you stiff arm a dude, and they're setting up a pass for you.
It was more like
It was also a fake end around. And
Yeah,
it
yeah.
didn't make it, but it's like his trick play.
It was more the flair with which he executed that.
Yes, it was beautiful. Michael Pierce, 360 pounds, dropping into coverage with an interception, hitting the highest top speed for a 350
With a break on the ball.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Like actual coverage snap where he was dropped deep into coverage, broke on the ball. Okay, there was no real run back on that one. He actually gave himself up rather than risk anything silly.
And then Titans defensive tackle Devondre Sweat.
Yeah.
Was that negated, his fumble return? No, he had that, or was it
possibly?
I can't remember if it was negated or not, but yeah, his fumble return, which was outstanding.
It was amazing. I mean, he stiff arms a dude. He makes a move. He's like running in the open field. That was phenomenal.
340, athletic. Last year at this time, we were 360. I apologize. Sometimes I mix up 350 and 340.
I mean, he's 365 or something.
Last year at this time, I was watching Devondre down at the Senior Bowl and be like, that dude's big.
Yeah.
Now look at him.
Very big.
Look at him. Big man moment of the year nominee.
And the winner is?
And the winner is Devondre Sweat of the Tennessee Titans. Congrats to Devondre. Listed at 6'4", 366. Monster fumble return. And, I mean,
that return
put a bow on a solid rookie season right there.
That was a work of art. I mean, that was genuinely phenomenal. I would have given him goal line carries. I would have given him a random carry sometime during the game just for that. Incredible work.
Yeah, he deserves some of these defensive line. Trayvon Walker, Devondre Sweat. Like, got to feed those guys.
Aaron Donald scooped the ball up one time on the same thing. A fumble popped out. Aaron Donald scooped it up, and like that man turned into a running back at that point. You're like, that would do damage if that was part of the offense.
Are we going to see Ben Johnson feeding Darnell Wright in the Bears?
Who can tell?
Their right tackle. All right, next one. We do have our fan of the year.
Yeah.
Do you want to break this one
down?
Well,
the chat was looking for something like this as well. Walt was looking for chatter of the year or whatever, and he's not getting that. But this is slightly similar.
It's our check the mic fan of the year.
Exactly, yeah. So I think there's a bunch of different categories for this. But the nominations, we've got our guy Chris Budge, who won the Pick'em League in the Sleeper app, who's just got his Check the Mic hoodie as reward for that. Angel Cal is the name of the person that won the Survivor pool. They need to reach out to me, by the way, for merch so we can get them hooked up as well. So those are the two sleeper leagues we have. So their nominations. I think Aaron, for helping out in the Discord, is a big fan of the year nomination. And then our guy, Super Chat, or whatever you call those people, not Walt, but Mohal.
Super Chatter, Power Chatter.
Yeah. Mohal is the guy who, obviously, he's come with us from the old show, but also he was the guy that sent us the ruler to prove that I am, in fact, 5'11", despite every single photograph the two of us take together.
Which has happened within this...
Trying to disprove that.
Which happened within this year.
Yes, exactly.
So that's important to you.
Correct. And we got a crystal ball somewhere over there for him as well.
Yeah. So...
more crap we're going to clean out of this place once we leave.
Why don't you announce this
one? Oh, I'm announcing this one?
Yeah. All right. It's right on there.
So the winner for Check the Mic Fan of the Year is, it turns out it's Mohal for sending us the ruler and the crystal ball.
Proving that you're almost 6 feet
and
tall.
And for proving, that I am, in fact, 5'11".
Congratulations. Very active in all the chats, right? The long-form shows, he's in all the instant reactions.
And it's worth pointing out that Janko would like all of the rest of you that are currently watching and listening to receive participation medals, lest we alienate any of you for not winning.
Oh, yeah. We love all of you guys, even you, Walt. We love all you listeners, viewers, chatters.
Janko's from California, so he's big into the, everyone gets a participation trophy.
That's fine.
You're all winners. You're all winners.
You're all winners. You're all special in your
Only
own
Mohal
way.
is the official winner, but the rest of you are all winners, and we love every one of you.
Yeah, and because we need all of you. We need all of you. So stick with us. Maybe next year you could be the fan of the year.
Exactly.
Just got to go above and beyond.
Right.
All right, let's go best free agent signing. Off-season of free agent signings that have impacted some playoff teams, some of whom are playing this weekend. Sam, going out of order here. Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
For the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles have two here, by the way.
All you have to do.
Sam Darnold.
Read the pictures.
For the Minnesota Vikings. Derrick Henry, Baltimore Ravens, and Zach Bond for the Philadelphia Eagles. So, of course, the two big running back signings of Barkley and Henry elevating their offenses. Darnold and what he was able to do for the Minnesota Vikings as a bridge quarterback, and Zach Bond with the Eagles. And then a couple other guys that we've considered, Andrew Van Ginkel for the Vikings, Jonathan Grenard for the Vikings.
Xavier McKinney. I think there's a lot of worthy nominations this year. Obviously, Derrick Henry and Saquon have both, each one of those guys was at one point threatening the single-season rushing record, albeit in 17 games. They were also, they've transformed those offenses, right? The Eagles' offense is really being carried by Saquon at large periods of this season. Derrick Henry has completely added a different dimension to that Baltimore offense. And then Sam Darnold, again, kind of like Kevin O'Connell, collapsed right at the end. But up until that point, had been genuinely threatening an MVP candidacy, which for a 1-year, $10 million bridge quarterback deal is pretty impressive going. And then Zach Bond was like a special teams throwaway, and he's an all-pro linebacker for the Eagles.
Yeah, I did not want to make a pick on this one. A lot of
Grenard difficult.
I know. Grenard made a lot of money. McKinney was kind of a high-priced free agent. But Henry and Saquon, like, relative value.
Yeah, I think there's got to be a value element to this for best free agent because, Grenard has been fantastic, but, I mean, I guess he exceeded what they paid for him. But you're paying quite a lot for Grenard, and he's playing quite very well. Saquon is a similar thing, right? He's been amazing, but you're also paying big running back money for him. Whereas Zach Bond is there for peanuts. Sam Darnold is on a 1-year, $10 million deal and is playing, top 5 QB level over the course of the season. Those are much better bargains.
So we can't give out participation trophies to everyone here. There's only one winner. Check the mics. Best free agent 2024. Zach Bond.
Nice.
Zach Bond of the Philadelphia Eagles. First team All-Pro linebacker out of nowhere. Essentially as a first-year start.
Which is really difficult to do All-Pro is significantly better and much more easy than Pro Bowl, which is a farce of a system. But it's not easy to go from like forgotten special teamer to All-Pro.
No.
With one season's worth of play, like within the same season. Usually there's a lag time to this kind of thing. And yet Zach Bond was fairly well acknowledged as that dude's been probably the best linebacker in the league this year.
All right, next one. This is a big one right here.
Big one.
The Executive of the Year.
Okay.
And it's a tricky one sometimes. The NFL does this. The Executive of the Year. We see the nominees up there. And sometimes the Executive of the Year, it's kind of like a multi-year reality award. But let's go through the nominees. We have Dr. Eric Eager, the Director of Analytics for the Carolina Panthers.
I like the picture, and yet we're missing the best part of it, which is the cut-off Whitesnake T-shirt, the belly.
The Whitesnake T-shirt there. Brad Holmes of the Detroit Lions, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah from the Minnesota Vikings, and then Adam Peters, who's going to be the hot name for this now.
Who, as you pointed out, just always makes the championship game.
Always makes the NFC Championship game. So some incredible nominees here, and let's discuss. I mean, let's start with Dr. Eric, right? He goes to the Carolina Panthers.
And fixes Bryce Young.
Fix Bryce Young. We'll talk about that later as well. But they go from 2 wins. They more than double their win total with Eric in the building. They go from 2 to 5 wins with Eric.
The data points are undeniable.
So
I mean, I haven't done a sort of statistics course, but I believe that's how you operate with data. You take something and you say, well, look, this pre and post, it's impossible to ignore.
They were going to pick first last year, and now they're picking 8th in the draft. Significant improvement in Carolina. Kwesi, we know, 14-win team in Minnesota, and all of the players that we just had on that free agent list, Grenard and Van Ginkel and Darnold. Look at all those moves that they made.
Of course, they got out from under the Kirk Cousins contract, and he got benched.
Yeah. And like I said, this is Brad Holmes. This is like a multi-year thing, right? So you can't necessarily – you could point to a couple moves that Brad Holmes made for the Lions this year and bringing in Kevin Zeitler and trading for Zadarius Smith. But this is a multi-year thing, right? The multi-year build of the Detroit Lions into one of the powerhouses in the NFL. And then Adam Peters, everything he's touched turned into gold so far.
Gold. The Midas touch.
So you ready?
Yeah. Who wins?
The Executive of the Year, check the mic, 2024. It's Mike Tannenbaum.
Oh.
Mike Tannenbaum, a surprise win. He is the Executive of the Year because he signed you and I. He signed Check the Mic this year. Mike Tannenbaum, you win Executive of the Year.
He recognized the value. He saw it.
This is a big upset. I was surprised by that when I read it on the card.
It's a big upset given that he wasn't nominated.
He wasn't even nominated, but that's how good it was.
That's impressive.
That's how good that move was.
That is impressive.
He just brings in Steven Sam.
Is that his best signing?
I mean, guy drafted Vernon Golston, so I mean we're not competing against. Just kidding. He drafted Darrelle Revis. He was there.
I mean, look, Golston was the Trayvon Walker of his day. The workout numbers were off the charts.
What about signing? He traded for.
To be clear, I'm not saying Trayvon Walker is as bad as Vernon Golston was. Just saying workout numbers were off the charts. That's why he got drafted high.
Way to clarify.
Thank you.
It's just you and me competing with like Santonio Holmes, Braylon Edwards, Jake Cutler out of the Fox booth, and Darrelle Revis.
Oh yeah, that one.
That was a draft pick.
That's true. Signing. It's not a signing, yeah.
Well,
you had to sign him, but only after you had picked him.
I mean, Mike hasn't made a great signing in a while.
That's true.
Till this year.
That's true.
That's why he gets Executive of the Year. Big upset there.
Uh-huh.
The actual Coach of the Year right now. Let's get Coach of the Year.
Oh, tough field.
Kevin O'Connell, Minnesota Vikings. Dan Campbell of the Lions. We've got Jim Harbaugh coming in for the Chargers. John Harbaugh is up there as well.
Yeah.
Dan Quinn for the Washington Commanders. You could also talk a little Matt Fleur, Andy Reid always.
There's so many candidates this year.
A lot of good candidates.
Yeah, like Andy Reid is just going to get ignored because the same reason Belichick didn't win like 10 Coach of the Years because, they're just good again. Who cares?
And so this is another one that I would almost treat as like a multi-year type of thing. The reason why Belichick and Andy Reid never won is because expectations were so high. But you could also say, like, well, the 3-year window was incredible, so they deserve it.
But I also think there are good teams whose coaches I don't think necessarily did a good job in game sometimes. Like Sean McDermott has had games this year where he's made some very questionable in-game management decisions. I think that's enough to sort of say, okay, yeah, good season, great season, especially relative to expectations. A lot of people thought the Bills would take a step back this year, but I think there's enough negative on your season to rule you out in this very tight field.
By the way, this is tricky. We're doing this right before conference championship round.
Sure.
Regular season award here, right?
Okay.
So we can't just say, well, Dan Quinn just beat Dan Campbell, therefore that's how it goes.
Okay.
Right? It's a regular season award.
Yeah, sure. Sean McVay, another guy that deserves a shout out as well, given the way they started. I think the Rams won their division, knocked off the Vikings. It's pretty impressive coaching work.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Check the mic. Coach of the Year, 2024. We're going with Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell of the Detroit Lions. And look, I know they just lost. I get it. It's a regular season award.
Yep.
And you could say that he won it with the Week 18 win over Kevin O'Connell.
I honestly think that might have been a significant tiebreaker between the two. Kevin O'Connell, a phenomenal season. They both were. I mean, they went into that Week 18 game effectively in the same position, right? Obviously, Detroit had the tiebreaker over Minnesota already, having already beaten them, but it was a close game, razor-thin margin, etc. So they were everything was on the line. The number 1 seed, the Coach of the Year. And I do think that Dan Campbell absolutely outcoached Kevin O'Connell in that game, and the Vikings got stomped, and everything that could have broken got broken in Detroit's favor.
And we're trying to get some Lions fans to come back, right? I know, just take your time. I know it's tough. Draft's right around the corner, though. We got free agency, foundation strong. Come on back.
Still a lot of good news. Still a lot to build around with the Lions, including having the Check the Mic head coach of the year, Dan Campbell. Yeah.
Can't beat that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go into some of the individual player awards here. Here we go. Offensive Rookie of the Year. We debated this. We've had to debate this.
We did.
Brock Bowers of the Raiders, Bo Nix of the Broncos, Jaden Daniels of the Commanders, and then Joe Alt, because we can give offensive lineman love here. He won't get any votes in the real award, but Joe Alt for the Chargers. I think the debate is between an historic tight end season of Brock Bowers and maybe the best rookie quarterback season ever, recent memory, whatever you want to call it, for Jaden Daniels. It's a tough one here.
It is. I think, people will see this as a slam dunk for Jaden Daniels just because he's a quarterback. But look, it's not like tight end has a history of immediate impact rookies. Like tight end, the records that Brock Bowers is breaking were set by Mike Ditka back in black and white eras, right? This is not a position where guys come in immediately and do really well. Even guys that are, move tight ends and sort of more glorified big wide receivers. Like even those guys do not tend to come in, dominate right away, set massive numbers. He wasn't just breaking tight end records. He was breaking all-time rookie receiver records, including wide receivers, including records that were set a year ago by Puka Nacua, right? Brock Bowers had a historically great season as well as Jaden Daniels. And honestly, I think Joe Alt is probably closer to that conversation than people would have it as well. But he's an offensive lineman, and it's very difficult to quantify that kind of performance. So I don't think it's the slam dunk that everybody thinks it is, and that it will probably end up being in the All-Pro, the AP votes.
And I get your point.
By the way,
is quarterback more difficult in a vacuum? Yes. But we can point to a whole bunch of rookie quarterbacks who have had pretty good statistical seasons.
Including, again, last year.
Yes.
Like these things,
But Daniels is in. I know we've got 2 playoff games under our belt here too to see this, but we might be looking at the best ever rookie quarterback season. Right. That's still the most difficult position to play in sports.
The last thing was the regular season only award. What is this? Are you gonna?
I thought we agreed all of these awards are that we had to.
clarify. So what he's doing in the playoffs doesn't matter.
No, I get that, but I think it's also like, hey, if he earns this award, and then it's kind of like he's backing it up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, no one will complain,
playoffs.
right?
Yeah.
Like, if he wins in a landslide, no one's going to look at that and say, that's ridiculous. Like, everything is setting up his favor. I just think it's closer than that. I think it should be. By the way, for anyone that is wondering, official AP voter over here, still not allowed to tell you who I voted for on the air. Not allowed to reveal my ballot until NFL honors.
Honors night.
The All-Pro stuff I've already put out there because that's already out. But the awards, I'm not allowed to reveal who I voted for.
Yeah, so this is the show.
Correct.
This is not Sam. These are not Sam's picks. This is Check the Mike's picks. Right? This is a team effort here. Also, give us your picks in the chat. It's probably good for the algorithm. So just type in all your picks, and then we'll go to the moon.
Perfect.
All right. The selection, offensive rookie of the year. We're going Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels, offensive rookie of the year. It was close. It was close between him and Brock Bowers. Heavily contested here on Check the Mike. Not so heavily contested, though. Defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah. A lot easier, this one.
I mean, there were some good defensive rookies, but there was one certainly who was above and beyond the rest. Jared Verse for the Los Angeles Rams, and 2 Eagles, man. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, the 2 cornerbacks, first and second round picks for the Eagles. Great seasons for them on the back end. But Jared Verse, I think we've talked about a lot this year, expected to win this award, and he might win it for Check the Mike as well.
Yeah. Very true. Jared Verse been a beast. I mean, we talked about he might have the best bull rush in the NFL already as a rookie. His power is freakish. His ability to take 365-pound guys and launch them into the sky instead of blocking him is insane. He's been incredibly productive, put up a ton of pressures, looked really good, and has been stepping it up later in the season.
All 3 of these guys have had a big impact on their particular defenses as well, right? The Rams losing Aaron Donald, replenishing the defensive line with all youth, and still having a playoff game where they sacked Jalen Hurts 7 times, sacked Sam Darnold 9 times. I mean, that's unbelievable. So just the residual value of Jared Verse next to everyone else, making them better. And then the Eagles as well, right? Always had that great defensive front. The coverage unit was horrible last year during the second half, and now one of the best thanks to Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. So all 3 guys have had pretty strong impact on their respective teams.
Absolutely.
But there's only one winner, and as expected, Check the Mike, defensive rookie of the year. It's Jared Verse for the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, monster.
Good run defender, good pass rusher, excellent rookie season for Jared Verse. Defensive player of the year. Now this one, we didn't have a slam dunk here. This one was a lot more tightly contested. We put Kirby Joseph up there with his 9 interceptions from the Detroit Lions. Myles Garrett, who didn't have the gaudy numbers, but still unblockable. When you look at the advanced numbers, win rate and everything. Kyle Hamilton for the Baltimore Ravens, essentially moving from 2 different positions and still playing at an elite level, playing close to the line of scrimmage, playing more free safety. And then Trey Hendrickson of the Cincinnati Bengals, the premier pass rusher for the Bengals for a team that had no one else essentially rushing the passer. Also, shout out to Patrick Surtain and what he was able to do with the Denver Broncos. They overachieved greatly on defense, and a lot of that was leaning into his ability to take away a receiver, let everyone else shine.
Yeah, it was an interesting year for Defense Player of the Year because there was no obvious, clear-cut candidate, and a lot of the other people that would be in the conversation missed a chunk of the season, if not, a huge chunk of the season. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson, I think, would have had this award wrapped up. Whether or not he benefited from a favorable schedule, which he did, he would have had this locked up if he hadn't gotten hurt. But Micah Parsons got hurt, Dexter Lawrence got hurt, TJ Watt got hurt. I think he would have potentially won it if he hadn't injured his ankle and disappeared.
Playing through injury late.
He got hurt and just stopped being the same force that he was before, but was battling through it on the field. But he stopped having TJ Watt type impact the second he hurt his ankle and was not the same guy. Nick Bosa missed a few games, so almost all these guys that would normally be at the sharp end of this award missed a significant chunk of time, and that kind of really widened the whole field and made a bunch of people potential options.
All right, man. Defensive Player of the Year. The winner is Trey Hendrickson of the Cincinnati Bengals. Congratulations to Trey. We'll just drop the trophy off down the street here at the stadium. Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah. I think that's pretty good. I mean, did he end up leading the league in sacks?
17 and a half sacks, led the NFL.
80-plus
Can't believe
pressures.
we're allowing a half sack total to be on our show here, but that's fine.
Yeah.
He had that knack for winning his pass rush and finishing it with a sack at key times. And again, with very little help, no interior pass rush from the Bengals, no good edge rush presence on the opposite side. Trey Hendrickson was outstanding with very little help.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the key. I mean, he had the kind of year that Myles Garrett has had in the past, where he's like the only guy doing anything on that defense. The Bengals defense was getting gashed left, right, and center, and yet Trey Hendrickson leading the league in sacks, leading the league for a period of time in total pressures, having a consistent source of pressure, and ending plays, like actually coming up with those TJ Watt type plays, critical plays in critical situations. I mean, really dominant force on a defense that was just getting destroyed.
All right, a few more awards to get through here. Offensive Player of the Year. I feel like we're trying to treat this a little bit like the NFL does, where we look at some non-QBs here.
Yeah, right. To me, Offensive Player of the Year effectively is who's the best deserving player that wasn't one of the quarterbacks you were giving MVP to.
So we have Bengals, Jamar Chase.
Yep.
Eagles, Saquon Barkley, and Ravens, Derrick Henry, the two of the free agent running backs who elevated their offenses in particular, and then Jamar Chase, just an electric season this year combined with what Joe Burrow was doing offensively.
Yeah, and I think those are the three standout candidates. I know that Saquon had better numbers than Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, though, had a better PFF grade and was, I think, doing more of the legwork relative to the blocking that was in front of him. Like the Eagles' offensive line's insane.
Yeah,
Baltimore's good. It's not.
It's an interesting one. I agree with that to a point, but Barkley's ability to just create 50-plus yarders. Right. So it's like we used to do the PFF grading. We used to do all this stuff, right? And, it's really well blocked up, and it becomes a 20-yard gain, and it's like, well, that might have been the offensive line's 20 yards. Saquon's turning 20s into 50s all the time. And again, we just saw two more of them in the playoff game last week. So that's where I think he separated himself a little bit for me. Versus and Henry has the Lamar gravity. I know Jalen Hurts is there for the Eagles. The Lamar Jackson gravity is real. And the yards before contact for Derrick Henry going up by 2 yards this year.
Not if you listen to the Bills and the Steelers.
They did say they wanted to shut him down. I know. I get it. But the film also said otherwise. Where the Steelers were all going after Lamar Jackson on Henry's 44-yard touchdown run.
All right.
Anyway, it's a regular season award.
Correct.
And for Check the Mic, our Offensive Player of the Year is Saquon Barkley for the Philadelphia Eagles.
There we go.
The long runs, man. They sold me on it. Plus, he caught a wheel route for a touchdown.
He did. He's the embodiment. Like for a few years, the league has kind of been trending this way, where maybe it was last year or the year before, but like all of the top high-end running backs were those explosive, big play hunting type of running backs, right? The ones that were more slight of stature, but had a bunch of like explosive runs in there. I mean, Saquon Barkley is more than that, but he's the super version of that, where, I mean, your stat, he got 20% of the 50-plus yard runs. Anytime they got him a crease, he took it to the house. Like, that's the running back that you're trying to find in today's league if you have a running game already in place.
That's the guy I want, yeah. I want a guy that's creating touchdowns out of nowhere. And I thought the way Saquon did it was timely, and congrats to him on Offensive Player of the Year. Are we going out of what we want MVP here at this point? We didn't want to save that? That's all right. MVP, it's next on the list.
Okay, yeah.
Most valuable player. Again, this is not your selection. None of these are your particular selections. You're
Correct.
A voter.
Not allowed to. Well, they might be. They
could be.
I'm not allowed to tell you.
But the guys who are probably going to finish top three, Josh Allen from the Bills, Joe Burrow from the Bengals, and Lamar Jackson from the Ravens. I think Saquon will get some votes as well.
Yep.
Lamar Jackson did win first-team All-Pro.
By quite a margin.
Pretty handily. It's not always exactly one-to-one with MVP, and now because we have first and second place, it might be closer than that, but I think we're expecting Lamar Jackson probably to win his third MVP come honors.
Yeah, and I think there was that Jeff Schwartz tweet where he was like, I thought Josh Allen was MVP, and then I looked at the numbers and I decided it was actually Lamar. I think a lot of people are kind of going to do that.
I told you that was going to happen,
I know.
Right? We were sitting here in week 16, and I'm like, people haven't looked at the stats yet.
Yeah.
They're like, Josh Allen caught his own pass, and he dove in the snow, and he won this big game.
He had the moments.
And I'm not saying that was wrong.
Right.
But Lamar Jackson's stats were insane. And not just stats, like his actual performance. His ability to have one of the highest big-time throw rates per PFF, but the lowest turnover-worthy play rate, to have almost 1,000 rushing yards and have the highest yards per attempt and yards per rush, like all of those things were incredible. And I still believe he's the biggest driver for that offense more than a Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Because he's done this before.
Sure.
But I will say, this is his best statistical season as well.
Right.
And then, look, if you're really trying to isolate value and you want to say, if you have better players around you, you're inherently a little bit less valuable because you have help. Like, you can make that argument. Joe Burrow's name should absolutely be in the conversation. Now, the thing working against Burrow, he throws to Jamar Chase, he throws to T. Higgins.
Yes.
But they're it. They're it for that team.
Well, he had help.
The defense was awful. The offensive line was not very good. He had to win shootouts all the time, and they lost a bunch of shootouts that were not the fault of the offense.
Right. He had help around him in terms of he had receivers to work with. The Josh Allen case gets burnished by that data point that he's the only guy ever to win first team to win. What is it? He's the only guy ever to be named to an All-Pro team, by which it means second team, I assume, with no All-Pro teammates around him. The Bills didn't have any other All-Pro teammates. So, but that's a very specific, like, there are a lot of teams sometimes.
To me, that's like a Mike Evans 1,000-yard.
Yeah. There are a lot of teams sometimes where the team can be extremely good, right, and have a lot of very good players, but none of the best at their position in the league, which is what essentially All-Pro is.
And look, I'm not trying to take anything away from Allen. I think he's fantastic and was very good this season. But how did we describe the Bills' season this year? The year that they won more games without having to rely on Josh Allen. That's what makes this thing tricky. So at one point you could say, well, he kind of spread the ball around and let them win other ways, which is great for the team. But I don't think that's as good for the MVP case, so to speak. Because the MVP case is generally like, oh, look at Burrow trying to score. He's scored 33 points in 4 games that they lost.
I think it is going to come down to that dynamic that you talked about. Like, Allen felt all the way through the season like he had the MVP moments and the narrative, the reasons that Lamar won it last year effectively. All those individual games where the Ravens beat the other good team, Allen was having that run this season. But when people look at those numbers, they're going to go, man, it's kind of hard to make that case for Josh Allen relative to Lamar's numbers now.
Yeah.
That's basically the discussion I think that's had between 50 people when they were doing this ballot.
All right, man, let's get to the Check the Mic MVP, our favorite award for 2024. It is Lamar Jackson. Congratulations to Lamar. We should get him on the show.
Yeah?
Get his acceptance speech.
Okay.
I'm sure he'll be on here very soon. Congrats to Lamar. Regular season award. I know they just lost. Yes. I know that's allowed.
But he was pretty good in that game.
All right, we have a couple more.
Outside of 2 bad plays.
A couple more awards here.
Yeah.
Most improved player for Check the Mic.
I'm going to get onto the AP people and pitch again that they bring this in, right? Because this is it's a missing, the NBA I think has this award, the NFL does not. Like, it's a missing niche in the awards. It's not just comeback, not just, who improved the most.
I like it. So we got Kirby Joseph of the Detroit Lions, Zach Bond, Philadelphia Eagles, and Sam Darnold for the Minnesota Vikings. And Bond and Darnold were both part of the best free agent class as well. Bond already free agent of the year.
Yep.
Could this be his second Check the Mic award as most improved?
Indeed.
Because Bond essentially broke out of nowhere.
Right.
Darnold definitely broke out of nowhere. He had, even his biggest supporters will say, his previous good stretches were 3 games at a time. And Kirby Joseph, it wasn't like he was bad. The other 2 guys you could say haven't done much. Kirby Joseph has just gotten progressively better to the point where his ball hawk skills showed up in 9 interceptions this year.
Yeah, and he did have a PFF grade of 56 last year. This is somebody that
I think he was better than that.
Has been playing for a while and has certainly made big plays for a while, but this is, number 1, he absolutely turbocharged those big plays, and number 2, he's been significantly cleaner overall in terms of mistakes.
All right, the Check the Mic most improved player for 2024. First, the inaugural most improved player. Sam Darnold for the Minnesota Vikings. Congratulations to Sam. Even though it didn't finish great the last 2 games.
Sorry, did not finish
including
great.
The playoffs. What we saw from Darnold, incredible improvement, ability to bounce back from mistakes, stand in there, make plays under pressure until he stopped doing that. But for the season, Darnold was outstanding.
He really was. I mean, even including that final game against Detroit, let's strip out the playoff game. Like, his performance is 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, the career high in big time throw rate when he's played basically a solid chunk of the season. like he was a different player, and even I think exceeded the expectations of even the people that were like, I've always believed in Sam Darnold. It was the Jets, it was the Panthers. He was all like, just put him in a good situation and watch what happens. Even those people, I think, would have come short of this in terms of what they expected him to do this year. So you have to
35 passing touchdowns.
Yeah, you have to credit him and say, I mean, that's a phenomenal leap forward in production and performance.
All right, next award is the Comeback Player of the Year. And do you want to describe what we should be looking for Comeback Player of the Year?
Well, here's the thing, right? So previously, the official award it was kind of like there was no real rules for it. There was no real direction in terms of what you should be voting for. So in a year where quite obviously the Comeback Player of the Year should have been Damar Hamlin for coming back from death, from dying on the field, essentially being resuscitated, being medically brought back, and then coming back to playing NFL games, regardless of how much he played, regardless of whether he was good or not when he played, the dude came back to be an NFL player from having died, right? In a year where
Should we just give this to Damar Hamlin?
No. In a year where that should have been Comeback Player of the Year, Joe Flacco won it for hauling his geriatric ass off the couch and throwing for 300 a few times for the Browns. It became a farce, right? It became a farce, Tyler.
Best Browns quarterback of our lifetime.
And so it was such a farce that the AP was like, we can't have that. We're going to have to give some direction and specify that this award needs to be from coming back from some sort of serious setback, physical injury the year before, so that you can't just give it to Joe Flacco for showing up randomly and throwing for 300 a couple of times, right? The problem is, now you get this year where you're like, well, that kind of takes away quite a lot of what would otherwise be Comeback Player of the Year candidates. And now we're looking at like Joe Burrow and saying, because he hurt his wrist last year, he's coming back from an injury. But, you know, Joe Burrow's always been good. Like, this is kind of silly. So what I propose we do is, because we're only a small operation here, right? And we're no longer having to try and get 50 people on the same page, right? We don't have to try and get some guy who's gone rogue with some idiot idea. We don't have to deal with him. He's whatever. Do what you like. You're not relevant. You and me, we can be on the same page and say, it's simply the Comeback Player of the Year.
Whatever we want.
Who came back from the most obvious comeback, who staged the most obvious and dramatic comeback, that guy wins Comeback Player of the Year. And if we need to change the rules and the criteria every year, that's what we'll do.
That's fine. We're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, to the point where I want to screw up all of our future graphics and everything and just give it to Damar Hamlin and say, you deserve a Comeback Player of the Year.
We can't be held responsible for other people's screw-ups. So that's in the past. That's already done. It's already done. It's damaged. It was somebody else breaking it.
I'm ready to go like full shouty show on that.
No. So, technically, Joe Burrow as favorite, I believe, for Comeback Player of the Year.
The nominees, Joe Burrow, Bryce Young of the Panthers.
Correct.
Jonathan Allen for the
coming
Commanders.
back from his pec injury. Yeah. And this is the thing, right? No, like the official rules for the AP, it's got to be like, last year. No, why?
Within this year,
Jonathan Allen came back from a season-ending,
so
quote
we broke
unquote.
The rules, made this a postseason award too.
It's whatever we want it to be. Jonathan Allen, he came back in week 17, so he was qualified
so
anyway.
Good.
Point is, Jonathan Allen came back from what was termed a season-ending injury. Came back, then dominated late. Do you have the winner, though?
I have the winner. The winner is Bryce Young for the Carolina Panthers, coming back from a benching, coming back from being benched,
coming back from
looking
being
like the
done.
Worst quarterback in the NFL over the last 2 years, to becoming pretty good.
This is why you need to change the rules to suit the appropriate comeback, because Bryce Young is effectively ineligible for Comeback Player of the Year, according to the AP. There is no greater comeback this year. Obviously, Damar Hamlin coming back from death is a greater comeback. There is no greater comeback this year than Bryce Young coming back from being cast aside and being written off as an absolute bust. He's done 2 games into this season. We're like, all the fixes we made in the offseason, none of it matters. The dude's trash. We have to bench him, even though the solution on the bench is Andy Dalton. Got to do it. He was done. He was written off. And then later in the season, he comes back. And right now, it's not clear that he is worse than C.J. Stroud. That's where he's come back to. Come back from written off bust to he might be the best quarterback in that draft class still.
Should send a memo to the voters and say we need to adjust this.
So we don't need to. We have our own awards. That's what I'm saying.
We do. We took care of it.
So we have the correct Comeback Player of the Year this year, which is Bryce Young.
This is a very special award coming up here. When we were at PFF, we used to call this the Stevenson Award. We came up with that.
Well, we hate the MVP award, so we had to create what it should be.
Best player. This is the best player. So this is the ready for this name?
Sure.
CTM, check the mic, Player of the Year.
Player of the Year.
Just a Player of the Year.
You simply take the word value out of the equation and you
Potwire.
can have a sensible award, right? It's just the Player of the Year.
CTM POTY, Player of the Year.
Don't call it that.
Saquon Barkley, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. Throw in Trey Hendrickson as well.
Yeah, I feel a little bit dirty about it this year because normally Player of the Year is it's rarely a quarterback when you look at because it's the award that you give to Aaron Donald because he's quite clearly the best.
Trent Williams when he has his dominant season.
Like they're quite clearly the best player in the NFL. They just play a position that people don't care about, and it's like, well, a quarterback is way more valuable, so they're getting MVP. So we're like, well, we don't care about value in this award. We can just give it to the best player, which might be the quarterbacks this year. Like in an unusual season, the best seasons from individual players may well have been the quarterbacks this year.
Well, way to give it all away.
Three of the four nominations are quarterbacks.
We're still giving out the check the mic Player of the Year to Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Of the Baltimore Ravens. One of the best QB seasons of all time.
Indeed.
One of the best of all time. And I think in part because, again, how much impact he has on the pass game, the run game, while also took care of the ball at a better rate than he ever had. Both shows up in the interception totals, shows up in the turnover-worthy play totals.
Yeah.
So Lamar Jackson.
I mean, Lamar Jackson effectively posting the Justin Herbert level turnover-worthy play rate, one of the lowest in the NFL, is a massive development. And doing that whilst putting up 41 passing touchdowns, 8.8 yards per attempt. I mean, the numbers are ridiculous.
So congrats to Lamar, MVP and check the mic Player of the Year.
And as you said, if your viewing or analysis of that dynamic with the run game is correct, he's also the driving force for Derrick Henry, threatening 2,000 yards and doing what he did.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have some multiple year evidence of Lamar's running.
It's certainly
backs.
a factor. I mean, whichever way you want to, again, the credit pie, right? How much goes to Lamar? How much goes to Derrick Henry? He's certainly getting a chunk of that. I mean, it's impossible to argue that.
They're definitely both helping each other there. All right, we'll get some other fun ones here. The broadcasting gimmick of the year, Sam.
Ah, yes.
Was this your entire award?
Yeah. I like this one.
Why don't you go through the nominees here?
Okay. One nomination was it Amazon that did this? I forget who's.
Amazon's Halftime, I believe, yeah.
Okay. Showing like a janky Madden 04 CGI replay of a play rather than just the replay of the play was an interesting stylistic choice. I also,
no offense to Madden 04, it was more like Madden 96. I mean, some of the
however far back, well, I don't think it was that far.
Maybe not 96.
Definitely turn of the millennium.
Early PS1, maybe.
Yeah, turn of the millennium type era. But anyway, the style choice to go with that to draw up a play rather than simply showing you the play is kind of weird. CBS's penchant for kicker analysis deep into the fourth quarter for the first time in a game, I know we haven't talked to it all yet today, Jay, but can he make this one? Yeah, I saw him make it in warm-ups. Thanks, Jay. Talk to you next week. That's pretty good. And then Fox with their rules analyst in a corner motif, which I found quite pleasing.
Usually friend of the show, Dean.
Often friend of the show, Dean. Dean was at least willing to stand there quietly in the corner. I think Mike Pereira had to be perched on a stool of some kind to stare off into the monitor off screen.
Do we have an image for that?
I would hope so. There you go. Look, there's Dean, just
Look,
rules analyst in the
corner. We have a 2-shot that's just secretly a 3-shot because he's
these are the differences between the broadcasts, right? You've got NBC and Sunday Night Football who makes Chris shuffle his way off screen so that the announcer, so that the play-by-play guy can give his monologue to enter and then the slide in, right? That's why the slide happened. Meanwhile, Fox is just like, it doesn't matter if Dean's just standing there in the corner. It's fine. Don't worry about it. No one will care.
COVID opened up all these rules, right? Because you have kids in the background on Zoom calls, which we're very familiar with. You'd have anybody in the background now. It's fine. The Madden replay thing. I mean, it's kind of like the people that put the dots out there too. Not trying to be like an anti.
Well, the dots are okay because they're usually a way around the broadcasting.
It's a way of seeing the all-22, but you probably already saw if it's a great play, you probably already saw the all-22.
Agreed, but it's usually like people putting it out as a sort of, I don't have the rights to this play. Whereas the broadcast is literally showing you the play and then choosing not to show you the play, but showing you a weird Madden graphics, PlayStation 1 era.
No, I get it.
It's just bizarre style choice.
Well-deserved. Madden replays, kicker analysis, or the rules expert in the corner. The winner for broadcasting gimmick of the year, though, the rules expert in the corner.
Beautiful.
Congratulations, Dean Blandino.
Dean,
Congrats.
congratulations, friend of the show.
Friend of the show, Dean.
Participant of the show.
Yeah, he's recurring guest. This is a fun one here. We have our former colleague of the year. We have all these former colleagues all across the NFL.
Look at this.
In college football. Dr. Eric Eager's back.
Can't believe we didn't use the Where's Waldo picture for Eric.
I know.
Stuffed in the background of the locker room.
The Waldo picture. We got Eric as another nominee. We have Zach Robinson, offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons.
Renner, fresh off the tanning bed.
Mike Renner, look at that. That is
bronzed.
That is post-bachelorette and new Mike Renner.
New Mike Renner, new Mike Renner front and center on CBS, broadcast, getting his own TV show, getting his own podcast.
What they're doing in a minute here. And then Anthony Tresh, their director of analytics for Notre Dame, the runner-up in college football, can also throw Austin Gale in
Very different pathway for Austin Gale. While everyone else is doing, some interesting things in football, Austin is busy subjecting himself to every post-apocalyptic nightmare movie he can find, like watching them all within a weekend, Clockwork Orange style, with the matchsticks in his eyes, to then write an article about it.
All right, let's go.
Utterly unhinged behavior.
So Austin Gale is in there. He didn't get he's not one of the 4 box there.
Right. We're not nominating Bobby because he didn't have a great season.
He made it to the Elite 8 for the second straight.
The Elite 8.
All
right.
right.
He's an honorable mention.
Bobby's an honorable
mention. He's not a
mention.
nominee, but he's an honorable mention.
Austin Gale watched 30 horror movies and whatever it was.
And a bunch more other things.
100. He did some crazy stuff.
Did some utterly deranged
Congrats to Austin. Mike Renner, his own show on CBS, convinced more people to just put him on air and everything. Mike does a great job. One of our favorite guests. Anthony Tresh, just before the season, shows up at Notre Dame, and all of a sudden they're going for it on 4th down and 4th and short and making good moves and overachieving on their way to playing Ohio State in the championship.
Yeah, and he's the guy. There was a clip that went viral of, oh, look at this, Notre Dame's cheating. Whereas it's really Freeman just turning and reassuring himself that this is the correct 4th down call with Anthony Tresh, who's got the little cheat sheet, right? This is when we go, cheat sheet. Got the sheet that says this is when you go, no go, right? He's bringing the analytics to the table. So there's all these national title game. He's there on the sideline. Same thing. There's a little clip of him, Anthony, go.
You said cheat sheet, and there was the idiot tweet that went viral that said, "Oh, he's cheating." I
meant it in that's just what you call those things, as opposed to it's cheating.
And then Dr. Eager, as we mentioned, more than doubling the Panthers' win total,
right?
Fixing Bryce Young,
rescuing Bryce Young,
because Eric used to work at PFF with us. We invented big time throws, and all of a sudden Bryce Young had the most big time throws over a stretch of time. So he probably said, throw more big time throws.
Eric just came in there and said, look, I can fix all this in a heartbeat. Just become the best.
Big time throws, have higher EPA, he probably told him.
Have the most big time throws in the NFL. That's how you get better.
That's what you do. And then Zach Robinson, dealing, drafting Michael Penix Jr.
We got to take his offense, right, junk it, run some ridiculous version of it because Kirk Cousins can't throw a ball anymore, and then dunk all that again and put let's dust off the real playbook. Michael Penix is out here. A lot of moving parts for Zach.
I need to ask Zach. I don't know why he didn't call one power or counter play the entire season. I want to know what happened. What happened to that part of the playbook? Is it even in there?
Maybe he lost that page. Anyway, and then the other person we need to shout out is, we don't think of him as a former colleague, but Tyler. We don't work with Tyler. He works for PFF. We don't work for PFF anymore. Tyler, former colleague of the year nominee.
Well, Tyler should win this thing.
It's a bit late now.
It is. It's a bit late. We don't have the pick, but still producing our show.
Solid nomination.
So, appreciate you, Tyler.
Yeah.
That was thanks from him.
You really hear the emotion flowing from him there.
He's you're one of the nominees, like all these, everyone else.
I think we still feel like he's a colleague. That's why he didn't make it.
That is true. He's not. He's still current ish.
Yeah.
All right. The former colleague of the year. The winner is Zach Robinson. Congrats to Zach, the offensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons. Look at that. 6th in the NFL in points per game.
There you go.
So we found a good stat for
Despite geriatric Kirk, who can't move.
How do you call plays when a guy can't even move?
Right. It's hard. I don't know the answer to that. Zach did.
The one other thing we wanted to just add here, not necessarily a award, but the question that's been posed.
The question.
The 2024 season will be remembered for. What, Sam? What will you remember this season for?
I think
to this point.
I think I will remember this season the most for the absolute ridiculous regular season dominance of the NFC North that had 3 teams vying for the 1 seed late in the year, 2 teams vying for the 1 seed in the final weekend of the regular season. You're like, this whole division is an absolute juggernaut heading into the playoffs. Vikings get wrecked by the Rams. Lions then get not wrecked, but beaten by Washington, a wild card team. Suddenly, no more. Green Bay lost. There's no more NFC North teams. Immediate collapse from all of them as soon as we hit the postseason.
That's a good one. It's a high-level takeaway of the way the season went. And obviously, once the season ends, if the Chiefs three-peat or the Bills get their first title or Jaden Daniels leads, as a rookie, leads the Commanders to a title, or the Eagles win their second title in 6 years, 7 years, we'll remember it for that, obviously.
Right.
But to this point, you mentioned AFC North and how loaded they were, everything. For me, it's the X's and O's aspect of, I thought early in the year it was going to be known for the passing numbers being down, but that kind of caught up after a slow start. But for me, it's offensive lines not being able to pick up pressure, stunts, and twists, not having any idea how to pass protect in key situations. And a lot of this showing itself in playoff games where QBs are getting sacked 7, 8, 9 times, which is wild. X's and O's wise. I want to know why, or remember, and want to know why teams just can't pick up any sort of tricky pressure, sim pressures, anything this year. It's been ugly across the league.
Yeah. No, I think that's pretty good. I mean, generally, the first few weeks of the season, right, it was like, wow, defenses have really fought back. Offensive production is way down. And that element of it, at least, has continued all the way through the season. Like, there are some nasty defenses out there that are causing all kinds of problems, which hasn't always been the case.
We have one last thing to get to here.
Do we?
We do.
Okay.
And Tyler, if you could cue the music. As I'm wearing my UMass Lowell Hall of Fame jacket, 3-time Hall of Famer here, myself, I am thrilled to be able to make an announcement here, live on Check the Mic. Sam Monson, you have been inducted into the Irish American Football League Hall of Fame.
That's a thing?
Yes, sir. You have been inducted. You are now Irish American Football League Hall of Famer.
Is this real or is this like a
This
fake
is real.
joke?
This is
This is the actual thing that's happening?
This is as real as it gets. Congratulations to Sam. It's the second year that the committee has been,
Existing?
together. So you're not first ballot.
No,
You're
second, yeah.
Second year.
Right.
But you are officially in the Hall of Fame. And so
is there a jacket that I get?
I don't know. I don't know what the prize is.
Well, maybe I'm in early enough that I can start, putting these things on the agenda.
Suggest
Watches, jacket. We can get the whole.
Suggest
we can
watches.
really class this up.
But again, I appreciate. I was talking to the people that run the Irish American Football League Hall of Fame, and we knew I had to keep it a secret for a while that you were nominated, and then I found out that you got in, and then I suggested, hey, we have an award show. He's going to be all dressed up. Why not make the announcement live on the air? They said, okay, we'll put out maybe a social media announcement, make sure that you get your proper street cred here. But congratulations for everything that you've done for Ireland and for America.
Yeah.
And you're a good representative of your homeland.
Thank you.
So if you could.
That was very well done. You kept that very well under wraps.
Thank you.
That's quite impressive.
Thanks. I got excited. I remembered it yesterday. I was like, oh, we should do this on the show. So we have the Hall of Fame music. That's probably going to get us, sued or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
The NFL owns it, but it's fine.
I mean, evidently, I have nothing prepared on the basis that I didn't know this was going to happen.
Maybe
but, a big thank you to the committee. A thank you to Steve. A thank you to all of my teammates with both the West Dublin Rhinos and the DCU Saints. Couldn't have done it without all those people. We had some great defenses down the years. Some good offenses back when I played wide receiver as well. Big thank you to Corman, throwing me some touchdowns.
And to be clear, I don't think this is for all of your contributions, to Ireland and America.
You're saying that in addition to my glittering playing career, there might be some broadcasting element to this.
The fact that you're a top 5 Irish NFL broadcaster
can't hurt the case.
Right? AP voter. You've done a lot to move the game forward and, again, represent the homeland. So.
Well, beautiful. So thank you to everybody involved in this this decision, this result. I graciously accept.
Congratulations. So is that your second Hall of Fame now?
second? What was it? Oh, yeah, the BFF one. Are we
PF
still in that? Did we get kicked out once we leave?
No, you don't get kicked out.
Really? Didn't that happen to Neil the second he left the building? It's like, I mean, once you're out of the Slack channel, are you out of the Hall of Fame?
It's just a Slack channel. It's a Hall of Fame, man. You're in the Hall of Fame.
I mean, I have the crystal trophy thing. They didn't take that back.
I do too. The Hall of Fame's forever. So we're both in the PFF Hall of Fame. So it's 3-2 now.
3-2.
It's 3-2.
Gaining fast.
I have 3. I am PFF, North Reading High School, and UMass Lowell, as we could see.
So now I'm actually going to have to work on getting you into the Italian-American Hall of Fame thing.
I'm just saying.
Does somebody
we went above and beyond to make sure you got into yours.
Does somebody have Cutlet's agent's phone number? Can we get him working on this?
Probably see him at the Super Bowl. We could.
That's true.
Pull him aside and pull some strings here. Anyway, pretty fun.
Yeah.
Fun show here today. Appreciate everybody being here, having some fun with us for the awards, as we got to dress up with a tuxedo T-shirt and a real tuxedo that you bought. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Chloe, for having a wedding and making him buy a tux.
Absolutely. She would like to point out that she didn't make me buy a tux. She simply required a tuxedo to be the dress code.
For attendance.
But it turns out when you're away for like 10 days, you end up financially required to buy the tux because renting it becomes prohibitively costly.
All right. Anything else today?
No, I think that's quite the show.
Great show. Congrats to Sam, Irish American Football League Hall of Famer. Second ballot. We got tomorrow, conference championship previews. We're going to break down those 2 games. We'll hit on any other news. Mailbag. Be sure to hit us up. Check the mic at the33rdteam.com. It is mailbag season. And then next week, it's draft season, man.
Draft season.
I'm going to have a breakdown. I'll be breaking down the Senior Bowl with Jim Nagy, and then we'll be down at the Senior Bowl. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube. A lot of behind-the-scenes content coming from Mobile next week. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again tomorrow. Conference championship previews.